Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are doing our top 10 Kickstarter games, which it feels like at this point should just be our top 10 games, just because every game that comes out now is a Kickstarter. Because I was about to be like, I don't think any of these went retail, but obviously not because they're Kickstarter. But yeah, I did this list. I think either I did or we did, like in 2018.
I think we did. I think I remember doing one a long time ago because we did that, and then we did the worst.
Yes, I remember the worst Kickstarter was in 2020, so a couple of years ago. But 4 years ago, for me, warranted like to redo the list, considering there's just been so many so many Kickstarter games that have come out. But yeah, so this one was a hard one, I think, to make. Not to find any, like there was just I had like 40 options. But
yeah, these were ones that I either backed when they were there or I bought them secondhand market to get them as well. So
yeah, and that was the hard part, is because I didn't back every single game, but you find out about them later, and then you're like, oh crap, I need to go buy them.
Just like today.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I'm excited. These are all fantastic games, and I think because there were just so many good ones, I think Brad and I are gonna do like another top 10 of what like the 12 through 21, just to talk about more games later on. But yeah, obviously I made my list based off how much I like the game.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with my honorable mention, which I was surprised actually wasn't as high, but I think it really, where these landed was literally just based off I happen to like the games before. There's no other weird underlying reason.
Yeah.
So my number 11 is Root, a game of woodland might and right. This one has been on it's been on many lists, and it's also been on Kickstarter a few times for faction expansions. In fact, it was on Kickstarter last year for 2 more factions. Root is one of my favorite competitive games. This company has a knack to do kind of asymmetry. They started off with Vast, which I first played Vast, and I was like, man, I am just not into this. But then I tried it again with a different group, still didn't like it. But Root it works on all levels for me. This is one where I genuinely just love playing every faction. The only factions I haven't played are the Vagabond. I don't think I've ever played the Vagabond, actually. Or the Woodland Alliance. I don't think I've played them either. But if you're not familiar with Root, it is a truly asymmetrical game where every faction is trying to get 30 victory points. First one to 30 victory points wins. But you have an entirely different way of scoring victory points and playing the game. You have a special ability, something that is unique to you, and then even a different phase. There are the same phases, but when you do actions and how you do actions are different. I personally feel that every faction is balanced. But this is a non-intuitive game. You have to be able to understand how every faction works, and then also understand how to play them to be able to correctly defend and attack. Everyone has their favorites. My favorite is actually it might be the Lizard Cult, just because they're weird. They're weird to play, but they are super fun. But I'm not going to go into what every single faction does, but trust me when I say they all play different. They all have their strengths. They all have their weaknesses. And I just love the fact that they've been supporting it. it's so good, and always comes down to the wire whenever I'm playing it. It's I mean, I can't sing its praises highly enough. I will go ahead and say every single one of these like 11s, like every single game on this list is a 9 or a 10 for me. Like there's obviously I wouldn't put something that's like a 6 on here, but hell, even like the ones that I went all the way up to 21, like those are all 9s and 10s. These games are like phenomenal. So if you want a really cool, unique war game, definitely check out Root.
Yeah, I've only played it once. I was the cat. I liked
Yeah.
it. I just didn't have any reason to
It's
buy
so
it.
hard to teach this game because it's like because it's competitive. Like asymmetry and co-ops work like you can play too many bones and have a good time because it's co-op and you can help someone along the way. And you can do that obviously in a competitive game, but I mean, at what point are you just really doing a tutorial instead of, playing competitively? I really couldn't tell you what a beginning faction is. They all have a complexity on the back, and I believe the cats are a low complexity because how you play them is easy, but the fact that you are spread out everywhere at the beginning of the game means you're being attacked the entire time.
Right.
So it can feel like, oh well, is it everyone against me? It's like kind of thematically it is, but yeah, it's I don't know. I really couldn't tell you. This would be a good ranking list.
Right.
But yeah, so that's my honorable mention, Root.
All right, my number 11 was a game that the company no longer exists. They've only kickstarted this one game, and then expansions. But I did not back it in Kickstarter because I didn't know what it was. I bought it on the secondhand market, and it was really a hit for me. And that is Fireteam Zero.
Nice.
I
didn't even consider this one. I totally forgot it was Kickstarter.
Yeah, this was like I said, the company's no longer around. Their website is kind of a skeleton site, but they still do have those MP3 files on there that you can download to have the audio files for the reading and stuff, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
But what this game is I play it solo a lot, but it's a cooperative game set. That's based on these series of books called Fireteam Zero, and it's an alternate art World War II scenario-based game where you're taking on these different monster groups, and it's a pretty interesting type game because I mean the monsters are nuts anyway, but then it has the multi-use cards, which is a big bonus. Your deck of cards is your life. Your cards are kind of split diagonally, and the top part is like an attack, and then the other one are like responses to help other people. So it's truly cooperative because you really need to work together. But if you're giving up cards in response, then you're weakening yourself for the possible attacks that you get. Also, the dice have multiple symbols on each side, like you can see in that picture. So there's all these different, I mean, you're not whiffing a ton. You're generally hitting at least something. And the scenarios in this game are pretty solid. One of the most difficult scenarios, though, is the very, very first one. So like if you do this and you're getting brutalized by those little spider-looking things in the first scenario, just get through that or bypass it or whatever, because the rest of them are pretty sweet. It's interesting because you can pick different monster families and the game changes because they have different like a big boss and little minions and stuff, and then they each have their own little deck of cards that have these abilities that they can kind of start. It varies, like it can change how they play and how they attack and all that crap. The one divisive part of this game that people probably will go towards hating is the whole coin flip thing. There's a metal coin that's in the game and it starts heads up. If a player gets knocked down, then it goes to face down, and then if somebody else gets knocked down while it's face down, then the game you lose. But this one you truly need to stay together, I think, mostly just because cooperation is great because they respawn super fast and they move
Yeah.
super fast. And but yeah, I mean this one's a really good one. They have a lot of expansion content out there, even though it is kind of a defunct game at this point, but it's definitely worth picking up if you can find it at the right price.
Yeah, I have everything that I'm aware of for this game. Someone was selling it for a really good price, and I have not touched it. Like I organized it, but I haven't played it, and I don't know why. It is a really difficult cooperative game, but I think the theme is very cool. So it's worth looking into just because it is different from the other monster type co-ops.
Right.
So and the multi-use cards is definitely a benefit towards it.
Yes, for sure.
All right. So my number 10, if we're going to be talking about monster type co-ops, is definitely this in a nutshell. If you are looking for a really unique theme, but also something that's familiar in terms of games like Alien and Dead Space and but underwater, then you can definitely check out Deep Madness. I was like, crap, is it not in my number 10? What happened? Deep Madness is it feels like this company also is a defunct company because they just don't respond or have any updates for their newest game, Dawn of Madness, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have everything for this one, and this is a really cool, atmospheric, immersive horror game. And as you can see, it's a table hog. It is a mess of a game, and there's just so much to it. So many different monsters, so many different, bosses, characters, items. They do something that's really cool that not a whole lot of games actually end up doing, I feel like, is that at least maybe this one just feels a little bit more like a video game because it reminds me of Dead Space so much, but it's in a underwater mining facility. But they have these kinds of it's almost like log files that if you're running around in a video game and like in Mass Effect or something and you come across like a log file, it's just something you can read, a codex that just gives you more lore of the game, but it's really has nothing to do with the overall story, or it has nothing to do with the current mission. This has that as well. You can find like consciousness cards based off if you are able to kill a monster without going insane, then it's like, yay. And you get that, and it's like this, it is a lot of reading, but you just get like snippets of like the world that they've created. And I will say created because they've actually written a book like for the and it's not horrible. Like I was reading a few chapters, I'm like, this isn't bad. But yeah, this is a fully cooperative game, scenario based. So you will you'll just go from chapter to chapter, and there's tons of expansions. Each scenario is very difficult. You have a oxygen meter. Those little teal circles on those tiles represent that space is flooded. So whenever you go in there, you have an oxygen meter, and for every action that you do while underwater, takes oxygen, so your dial goes down. And sometimes the monsters are not affected. They can breathe underwater, so they'll be in there chasing after you, which is horrifying. And you might have to start fighting them to get out of your way, and that costs oxygen. The actions in this game just truly, really bring out the theme. But one of the things that I do like about this game is at the bottom, you can see the initiative order with that little red heart. It goes like a player, a monster, and it goes back and forth like a chain like that. And so if the first player is going, what monster will be activating next. And you can plan ahead. Hey, by the way, if I kill this monster, there's only one of them, then that means like the monsters won't go, like, because I killed the one that's linked up to me. So if I kill that one, then we just go straight to you. And that's a really cool system, I think. I like games with different types of initiative and co-ops instead of like Aeon's End does stuff like that. Then like some other games are just, okay, all the heroes go, then the monsters. Then you just go back and forth like that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I just like unique like turn order that gives you a different element of strategy. So yeah, this is a beast of a game. This is as Ameritrash as you can get, but I just love, everything that is brought into it. And this is one company that actually came out with a storage solution later on, which is something that no other company does. Like it's 2 boxes. One box is all the tokens, all the tiles, all the cards, and the other box is a foam core insert where you have to like pull out the little squares and you just slot them in that way. But I'll take that over nothing. So at least it's organized in a somewhat nice way. But yeah, this one, it's so much fun. Very, very challenging, but this theme is amazing. So that is my number 10, Deep Madness.
Yeah, it looks good for sure.
All right. Played this one? We haven't played this one, have we?
Nope. I've never played it.
We probably should.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. All right. So my number 10 is another one that I missed out on the original Kickstarter for. I bought everything that was out for it at Origins the year I went, and then I've been doing all the other Kickstarters for the expansions afterwards. It is a it's a card-based game that follows kind of like that Machi Koro style of resource gathering in Stellaria Card Kingdoms.
Nice.
This one, there's a bunch of stuff out for this game right now. A lot of little modular little expansion decks, and then there's thematic little box things they keep kickstarting. I don't know how much more they're going to do, but they've come out with big box storage versions for it and all this junk. But pretty much what you're doing is you're going to be putting out a card for each number of from like 1 to 12.
Mm-hmm.
And then you roll 2 dice and you get to buy stuff to add to your tableau, which gives you more abilities, which give you, more resources, gold, whatever. Ultimately, you are then going to be defeating monsters that are in this monster row. And as you defeat them, you work your way through that pile and you get rewards when you beat them. And then like there's a boss that's at the bottom that, you may get a decent chunk of victory points. A lot of them are based on how many cards of other cards in that deck you've beaten. But then there's domain decks that are stuff that are just like victory points or more abilities. There's just a lot of variation because each of those numbers that you see have multiple versions of that number that have different abilities. So you can set this game up so many different ways. And I haven't even touched the newest one that just got delivered to us, and then the one right before it. I haven't played with either of those expansions yet, like the Crimson Seas, and then the other one, I think, which it looks like the Crimson Seas might be on that picture up the top, but
I think it is, yeah.
But this is just a really cool one. I mean, this one takes that Machi Koro thing and does a better spin on it because there's so much more choices of what you buy and stuff like that. So it's just a good one, and I think they just kind of keep pumping crap out for it, because their Kickstarters are pretty simple,
Yeah, this one I have played this Space Base and Machi Koro, and this one is easily the best one out of the 3, I think. I mean, theme goes a long way. Like I like the fantasy theme, but there's this. It feels like there's just more game here Like
Mhm.
the strategy and the variety of playing the game just really work. I mean, Space Base is fine. There's nothing wrong with that one. And I didn't care for Machi Koro, but maybe that's because it's like a gateway game.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, this isn't for me. But yeah, this one I also have everything for, just because it's a really solid one. But yeah, I think the newest expansion has a campaign.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, like a 5-chapter campaign or something. So we might have to give that a shot. All
Agreed.
right, good deal. Yeah, this is a good one. My number 9 is the newest on this list. It is yeah, it came out in 2021, and everything else came out you know, a year or the years prior. And I was so excited that this one, you know, came in. It's been a while since I've gotten like a new game and I was actually like very excited to play it. Normally like at least visibly excited versus getting new games in. I'm just like, oh yeah, I backed that. This one I kept tabs on just because the theme and the genre that this game is in was just one that I've been waiting for a while, mainly for my absolute distaste for the only game in this genre. So, and my number 9 is Townsfolk Tussle. So this is in the genre of a boss battler, and a lot of these games are going to be coming out in 2022. This one is technically it's like on the cusp of 21. It came out like a week before 2022 hit, but it's on Board Game Geek as a 2022 game. I am going to consider it as a 2022 game. But yeah, this is basically Cuphead the game, without a doubt. Oh god, look at those shitty unpainted minis. Kat is in the process of painting all of them. She has, I think, like 4 or 5 left to do. But she has painted, yeah, the goat head, and she's painted Lawman, whatever is Lawman Dugan, or I can't remember his name. But yeah, so this is a boss battler where you will be fighting 4 bosses. There's no campaign. It's just you'll have 4 chips or 4 tokens that you'll pull randomly from a bag that has every boss, and you'll put them in a row, and those are the 4 bosses that you're going to be fighting. And the game is in a very, you know, organized and streamlined sense where, okay, here's the market phase. Here's the options of what you can buy to go based off a build that you're wanting to do. Once all players have done that, then you go to the boss phase, and then you just fight it. You set it up based off the back of so like the lawman on the back of his card is how you set it up with terrain. And where the bosses land in the order you fight them will give them or a special ability. So like the first spot is like the chump spot, and they don't get a special ability. But then the next one, like, so Lawman Dugan technically has 4 different ways that he can play, because if you fight him first, no ability. Second, he has one. Third, he has one. And fourth is like he's the final fight. And every boss has a completely different way that you fight them in the final fight. Like literally on the back of their card, it's like, hey, here's final fight rules for them. I think that's brilliant. It's something that they're not just bullet sponges. It's not just like take bosses in folklore, for example. Like
Right.
they don't do a whole lot. They're just there, and then they just have 80 health, you know. And it's like, oh yay. But this does such a fun time. They have their own deck, their own AI deck that indicates how they're going to play. So that's thematic to them. It's as close to like, because obviously Kingdom Death Monster has like a lot of stuff, you know, that goes for it. It's been, I mean, everyone talks about it, and it's you know, the only boss battler now. Now it's different because Townsfolk Tussle exists, but yeah, this one, the theme just really does it for me. I love this old timey cartoon, like I feel like 1920 cartoon style. Cuphead was is one of like the best video games to play if you're wanting a very, very challenging like boss rush kind of game. So yeah, this one is just, oh man, I was so excited to play it. And whenever I officially played it and did it for the channel, it stood up. Like it was like, oh, thank God, it's still so good. I'm very happy. And it had to make my list. And also the fact that they've already announced they're going on Kickstarter for an expansion.
Right.
So, which is something that I was really wanting, just because when you really like a game, you just want more content for it. And I was like, man, I just really want more bosses. This game doesn't have is not without, not necessarily flaws, just things that I'd rather see. So maybe in future expansions they'll do that. So yeah, that is my number 9, Townsfolk Tussle.
All right, my number 9 is a deck building game that's had many expansions. I'm kind of lumping them all together into this because some of the expansions added the like a cooperative measure to it, like a story, not legacy, but a campaign type deal. And that is Hero Realms.
Okay.
When this originally was kickstarted, it was just your typical 1v1 reskin of like Star Realms. But I like this one better than Star Realms because of the theme and stuff. But then they came out with those other campaign expansions, which just kind of added more to this to make it more of a rounded out system. But this one, pretty much, you're just going to be this is your basic deck builder. You buy stuff from the row, goes into your deck, you shuffle up, you're trying to defeat the other person across from you if you're playing the competitive version. And all the while powering yourself up. Now, the cool thing is they've come out with those role pack. I can't remember what they call them, the character packs or role packs or whatever, where you can actually take on the role like a wizard or a cleric or anything like that, which adds a little more specific little tweak to your decks and stuff. And then those are required when you do the campaign boxes. But there's so much junk for this game. I think you pretty much have everything for it too.
No, I think I do have everything for it.
And it just fills up that big box storage that they had. And there's just so much crap to it. And the art's awesome. And it's just, since I love deck builders as much as I do, that's why this one had to be on here.
Yeah, no, this is a very solid one. Like, I agree. I like this one more than Star Realms, mainly for theme. I like fantasy over sci-fi, but I will eventually be getting that all-in Star Realms stuff whenever they fulfill that with like the foil cards. So that's gonna be pretty sexy. And yeah, this I probably wouldn't own this if it didn't have those story cooperative like little boxes.
Right.
I'm very curious to see if they're going to keep pumping more of those out or if they're just kind of done.
There is another Kickstarter starting in February for this game.
Oh, okay.
And it's called Hero Realms Dungeons, I think.
Hero Realms Foil. It's like they're doing the same thing.
It's Dungeons, and I think they're going to try to make it. I don't know much about it. I just know it's called something like Dungeons or something, and it's going to add some more stuff to it.
Okay, cool.
As well.
Yeah. I mean, they're Wise Wizard games now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know they don't do like a whole lot of games, but the games that they do have are like supported and really solid. So I know Star Realms really kicked off, like, once again, back alley games. Like, that should be a company name. It probably is. Like, that feels like a company name. All right, my number. Hold on, I gotta look up to see if there's a back alley games that. There is a company called Back Alley Games, and they have made Well, in 1999, they made a game called Back Alley. And then in 91, they made a game called Cuerto. And this one doesn't even have a year, but it's called Smiles, a game of shells. So
Interesting.
they have not been around for the past 25 years. All right. Anyway, my number 8, it's crazy how tastes have changed, and I mean just other games have shined over the years. This game was definitely the first one I believe that did, what it did, and it's still phenomenal. It is a engrossing, rich experience whenever you're playing. It's just very long to beat even one of the I guess scenarios, and that is Seventh Continent. Seventh Continent, the curses are really what it is. There's I think 10 if you have everything for it, including the what goes up must come down expansion, which added the fact that you can fly. Well, you can get in a hot air balloon. You don't get the ability to start flying, but yeah, which then allows you to explore the skies. If you are wanting a pure survival game, like a survival adventure game, that is this in a nutshell. You are given basically nothing to start this. You have a curse that's the one you pick. That is your overall. The theming is that you visited this continent as a group of explorers or whatever, and then you left. You went back home, and then you're plagued with nightmares and just visions and all this horrible stuff. And you're we got to go back to lift this curse. So that's what you pick one of them. And the curse itself will give you, a little backstory, a little snippet to read, and then the first one that you're supposed to do has a map, and it kind of tells you, hey, do this. You don't have to do that, but because there's just so much to this game. And whenever I mention it's the first one to do what it did, that sprawling card map is what I'm referring to. I can't think of any other game that had that, where the art connected, and you could theoretically just have your entire table filled with this map. And if luckily they don't allow you to do that at certain points, you're supposed to kind of de-render cards. If it gets too big for the table, you're supposed to be oh, well, the game isn't rendering what's behind you anymore, so you're supposed to clear it all off. And then that's just how you keep going. But that means if you're going back, then you have to bring all those cards out. Yeah, this is a massive scope of a game. And I know because some cards have multiples. So if you go back to number 115, you might pick a different 115. And so it might be a little bit different because the map is supposed to be ever changing. Expansions include weather that affect the game. It includes just if you have very specific tools that can help you, if you're trying to climb a tree, and it's okay, this is gonna, because it does a unique system of exhaustion where you're the deck, the skill deck. If you just are doing something and you're hey, by the way, you need 3 stars to succeed in this, and you just get to choose how many you want to draw. And it's okay, well, I'll draw 10. I'll draw 10 cards to succeed. And you're going to get your 3 stars. However, you just burn through 10 cards of that deck. And once that deck runs out, then you reshuffle it. And then at that point, once it's reshuffled, then if you draw a curse card that's in there, then you technically die and you have to start the whole game over. I don't play that way. This game has too much time investment to have you restart. There's just no way. But yeah, there's no other game out there that's like this. I mean, technically there's one, but this came out before it, and it's very immersive, and I genuinely enjoy it. And I've only ever beaten one curse after pumping a lot of time into it. So you definitely get your bang for your buck for this one. And the only advice I can give to someone getting this game is hunt. Like, get food. Like, you need food. Otherwise, your discard pile, you're just gonna, it's supposed to represent your stamina. So obviously, if you're not eating, then you have no energy. Therefore, you're not getting your cards back, and then you're just gonna die. So yeah, that is my number 8, Seventh Continent.
Not bad at all.
You got rid of this one, didn't you?
Yeah, because I just wasn't playing it a whole lot. It wasn't
Mhm.
grabbing me as much as what I thought it would.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think Seventh Citadel might be what you were looking for, because like I said, this one, it does have story to it, but very little. Like, it's one of those, you have to come across something that is like a journal to get you any type of story. Otherwise, there's a lot of trekking, exploring, experimenting, all that with just different items. And I mean, that's all fascinating, but it's kind of like if you were to play, I don't fucking know. I was thinking the Forest or Ark or something like that, where you're just trying to survive and build up and get better, and then, oh hey, by the way, there's a little snippet. Hey, we got a little
Right.
book. But Seventh Citadel is supposed to be your adventure style game. Like, that's supposed to be more narratively driven. So maybe give that one a shot. I have that one back, so I can let you know if it's like, oh hey, by the way, yeah, you should get this one if you wanted an actual story. So.
Right. All right, sounds good. Okay, so my number 8 is another Wise Wizards games. This is one that I got to learn pretty well because I was a demoer for this game at Origins.
Nice.
It's a beautiful, beautiful game. Theme might not be for everyone, and that is Sorcerer. When I was demoing this game, that seemed to be what the big turning thing was. Like, people either loved it or they hated it, and it was because of the darkness of the theme and stuff, and the how realistic and kind of scary some of the art was and stuff. But pretty much in this, yeah, I do too. Pretty much in this is it can be played up to 4. It's don't fool yourself. It's a 1v1 game. And you're pretty much you're taking 3 separate styles of decks and shuffling them all together. You get your deck for your sorcerer, you get your domain and your lineage decks, and you shuffle those up, and that creates your deck for your game. And then you're going after the decks have minions and stuff, and there's going to be 3 locations out in the middle of the board that you are trying to destroy. Once you've destroyed 2 of those 3, you win. But the reason this game is really going to start picking up is because of their new Kickstarter that hasn't come out yet. That's going, the Inbringer.
Yeah.
A cooperative / solo style deal to it, so that'll be interesting. But just talking about the base game, I mean, there's a ton of different decks to choose from. You have your little player board there, and what I like about it is, it kind of has your phases, your round counter and stuff.
Yeah.
Your action tracker, your energy tracker. It's got everything nicely put in there. And there is dice rolling, but yet those omen tokens can be used for rerolls or to make your opponent reroll. There's just a lot going on. There is a little bit of tediousness in some of the battle fighting, that I can overlook a lot of that just because of how the rest of the game plays and how it looks and stuff. And we've said this before, but the guy who made this game was a former professional Magic guy. So
yeah,
Robert Doherty, and he knows how to put games together. I mean, he's made Star Realms, Hero Realms, this. I mean, he knows how to make card games. And this is just a really, really cool, albeit dark themed game.
Yeah, I mean, basically, he took the issues that can happen in Magic, and basically made the fact that you have actions to mitigate that. So if you're drawing, if you don't have a hand of cards, you just do an action to draw cards, and it's like, okay, well, that was my turn. And then if you don't have any, I'm gonna say mana, but that's not what it's called in here, to play cards, you just do an action to gain some. And then it's like, yeah, that's not as much. I mean, you're not doing as much, but at least you're not relying on your deck to give you stuff you need so you can actually play the game.
Right.
That's one of my favorite things. Besides the fact that you shuffle 3 different types of decks together and have a completely different way, like synergistic deck, which is awesome.
Well, and then there was that area control part I didn't bring up, because you have your little standee of your person, and at the beginning of each round, you move them to one of those 3 locations.
Mm-hmm.
And there's any of the abilities that sorcerer does specifically has to go off of that, where that person's at.
Yep.
So you kind of have to pay attention with that.
Yeah.
Phase too.
Kind of what they can do. And then your domain has something you can do. Your lineage has, different actions. So yeah, there's a lot here. And that Endbringer expansion is just going to bring so much more to it.
For
Is
sure.
it supposed to be playable with like all? It's like just all decks are viable, right?
Everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. You can bring any decks into it and mix and match as you want.
It's gonna be exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, good deal. My number 7 is a cooperative game. It is I'm conflicted because it's probably my favorite cooperative game, but it's not my highest cooperative game, if that makes any sense. Mainly because I play the other co-ops a lot more, and then there's others that there's more that goes into it. But yeah, this one's a very heavy cooperative game, and it is Spirit Island. So Spirit Island is one that it works for me on all levels. Like you embody a spirit that has a unique way to play and unique powers, like card powers. But as the game goes on, you're going to acquire different types of powers. But the way you have to work with your other, like your teammates in the game, just does a lot more than a lot of other cooperative games does. Like a lot of co-op games, it's just like what I do doesn't really matter, like to what you're gonna do. You can go over there and do your own kind of thing, and I'll do my thing over here. But at the end of the day, we do have to complete the same objective. This one is, well, the same objective is killing settlers that are coming onto our island, and the fact that the powers have they're slow and fast, and the fast powers go before when the settlers activate, because the settlers are going to do multiple things. They're gonna explore, build, and ravage the land, and you know exactly where they're doing it, except for explore. You don't know where they're exploring, but you do know where they're going to build, and you do know where they're going to ravage. So you plan ahead for all that, and so it's like, okay, well, I have this fast power that does this, but I'm only going to be able to move them. I'm not going to be able to kill them. So like, can anyone do that? It's like, oh yeah, I can, but it's slow. So it's going to be null and void by the time, they already activate, because slow powers go after them. But there's just different ways you can mitigate a lot of it. It's not an easy game by any means, but the fact that there's just like, oh, well, I have this, like you'll be talking and trying to figure out what to do. And then someone will be like, oh, well, I have my unique player power that makes everyone's, powers fast. And it's like, oh my God, okay, that completely changes everything that we were going to do. And that happens a lot in this game. There's so many different spirits in this. It just allows for variety when playing. If you get tired of just regular settlers, you can give them nationalities and they have different challenge ratings on the nationalities. There's a lot in this game. And if there's one complaint that I had for it is the fact that you are a particular power, but you draw random minor or major powers that might have nothing to do with your own, like your own deck. You could be that lightning bird down there and you could have a water power or something. I haven't been able to figure out a thematic reason for that. So I would have much preferred to see like every spirit has their own deck of minor and majors and you build a little bit that way. That would have been a little bit better, but I mean, that's really griping at this point. It's just yeah, this game works so well. And it's not a looker. The art on the spirits is. I really like the art for them and like kind of like their little backstory on what they're about. But I think it's more for I can't really think of like the right word for it. But when you look at that board and you've played the game, you're easily able to tell like who's where, what region, and it lends itself for you to strategize better than you not being able to see a certain thing or be like, I can't really tell where we're at. Like, can I even attack that region? You know, it's just this works a lot better, I think. So substance over style. That's it. That's what I was thinking of. So yeah, if you're looking for a heavy, like a deep cooperative game, then I would highly recommend Spirit Island.
Sounds good. That was a very popular one for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they came out with their I think they're done at this point, but yeah, their latest expansion came with quite a few. They literally have a spirit that's customizable. You make him, and I'm like, nope. But yeah, there's a lot.
That'll work. All right, my number 7 is one that I definitely didn't back on Kickstarter. And after playing it with you, I went and started buying the stuff.
Yeah.
Also to the point where their last Kickstarter, I pretty much bought everything for it. It's one of the more pretty games that are out right now. And that's
nice.
Everdell. This is, this game has been brought up on many different types of lists that we've done, whether it's been art or just top games or whatever. But this one is just such a good tableau building worker placement type game. It's very ingenious how they've come up with the mechanics where you start off with just a small number of workers, and then as the seasons pass, you get more workers. So you have to be smart early in the game because you can try to maximize those. I think it's 2 workers you start with, I believe.
I think so.
It almost feels like now, after playing like Lost Ruins of Arnak, you have 2 workers and you're trying to maximize those spots and trying to get some sort of an engine built where you're maximizing your turns. This one does that, but then as the time goes, because after you are done with your workers, you can't take anything else. Then you declare, as you're moving on to the next deal, you get your workers back and the other workers as well. But then the other people could be hanging back, still maximizing their turn and getting more points before they go.
Right. It doesn't make any thematic sense because you're like, I'm in winter while people are still in spring, and it's like, maybe it's a different forest and in a different, I don't know. I can't think of any reason why. It's just like,
but it has, this is that one that has the big tree out there that holds cards and your workers and stuff.
Oh, that's cool. Someone has like little leaf holders for those cards on the that's really neat.
Yeah, it would be neat to have something standing up because they're always laying down on there and it's more difficult to see. But the resources are really neat looking in this game as well, and everything. It's just, there's a lot of cool stuff. The worker placement, you do that to gain resources and you use those resources to do stuff. There's also the where you're buying the cards that are out there. A lot of the cards synergize with each other as well. There's the like the husband and wife mouse cards you can get, and they end up helping you late game for points. There's just a lot of cool stuff with this and all the expansions that have come out. The last expansion or the last Kickstarter having the huge collector's box and
Yeah.
all that stuff to put it all in. So yeah, I mean, this was kind of a home run for this group or company,
Mhm.
you know, and
Yeah.
but it's a good one.
Because I mean, it takes you by surprise. Like you see the artwork, and you're like, okay, yeah, I guess we'll see what this brings. And then you're playing, and you're just like, oh my god, this has strategy. Like there's a lot to this, and yeah, it has a similar feel like or a similar system like Seven Wonders, where oh, I have this card that lets me get this card for free. And that's just an action that you do. So like you said, my favorite part of this game is the fact that if you plan well, then you can keep doing turns after turns as people have stalled out. And then you're just like, well, I'm still going. I'm still able to generate resources and get a bunch of cards in my tableau. So yeah, this is a really good one. All right. My number, what are we on, 6?
Yes.
My number 6 is another cooperative game, and this is why I was questioning, like, oh man, I keep saying Spirit Island is my favorite, but technically it's not the highest. But I think it's also because I play this one a lot more, and I don't know, maybe I have to reevaluate cooperative games, but this is just how it happened to fall whenever I did the ranking list. And this one feels like a boss battler. It doesn't, like, everyone is like, oh, this is not a boss battler. It's like, well, you don't do anything but fight a boss, so I don't know what I'm missing here. And that is Aeon's End. It's like, yeah, it's not a miniatures game, like, but people call Summoner Wars a skirmish game, and you don't have dudes on the map running around. So I'm technically considering this a boss battler. It's a deck builder for sure, but you pick a nameless to fight that has its own unique abilities. Technically, it doesn't have its own AI deck, but it has its own unique cards that get shuffled in with basic cards at a certain, depending on number of players. You have like a certain number of basic cards that get shuffled with it, and there's 3 tiers, 1, 2, and 3. So as the game goes on, the boss, the nameless, gets more challenging. The cards that are coming out are a lot. It's like the first one's like, hit Gravehold for 3 damage, and you're like, oh, okay. And then level 3 is like, you lose. It's like, wait, what? Like there's just it ramps up so quick, but you do as well. There's something about this game that works for me. The fact that now the first, and they've definitely come a long way, the first Kickstarter for this, like the regular box, I was like, is this clip art? Like it had horrible artwork. The nameless weren't bad. It just it was a very dull looking like that I don't remember what boss that is, what his name is anyway. He's the one on the cover.
Either. Yeah.
But he like it just looks very lame and boring. But as they've come out with expansions, and their newest standalone expansions have ramped up in artwork. One of their Kickstarters, I think it was the Aeons and Legacy Kickstarter, came with like a upgrade pack to where all the old artwork, like, you were able to do away with and replace them with new cards. So now the artwork is really good. Very involved. Like, you are playing as a breach mage that also has your own special ability. And based on the market of all the, shit ton of cards you can play for gems, relics, and spells, that you could either decide what to do or you can randomize. I always randomize it. and then I randomize the nameless that you're fighting. Like it's that's just going to determine kind of the deck that you're going to build and how you're going to try to fight the nameless. But like with oh, what was it? It was Deep Madness. This one has the unique initiative order, where it's also a deck of cards based off, okay, here's player 1, player 2, and player 3, and then the nameless. And then you shuffle those cards together, and then you flip it, and it's like, okay, it's player 3, and then the nameless. And you might be really hoping to go because you have a bunch of prepped spells, like ready to pop off to do like 20 damage. But then the nameless goes before you, and it's just like, oh, everyone discard your prepped spells, and then it just throws a wrench in things.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a very hard one. At some point, we will do a ranking list of all the nameless, but we got to get you caught up.
Yeah.
We got 2 standalone expansions left for you.
Yep.
We got through Legacy, like, so.
And then we're gonna be getting the big ass box with a ton of them coming here pretty.
Yeah, the Legacy of Gravehold. Oh my God, you're right. We need to finish our ranking before we get that. Like, because at least we'll have a ranking list for, like, it's like, oh hey, all right, hey, in anticipation of the Legacy of Gravehold, here's our ranking list. But yeah, like, I know a lot of people talk about this one. This is the first deck builder that got me into deck building, and I still love playing it. So that's my number 6, Aeon's End.
All right. Well, my number 6 is my most. It's probably the most I've ever spent on Kickstarter stuff. It's takes up the most space. It's the most sprawling, just big mess of plastic and cardboard. And that is Shadows of Brimstone.
Wow. I thought this was going to be your number 1.
No.
Oh no, I know what your number 1 is. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
But Shadows of Brimstone has so much stuff. You know, I didn't do the first Kickstarter that had City of Ancients and Swamps one, and then in that Kickstarter there were so many expansions and monster packs and everything that was unlocked. And I caught up on all of that, and then I've done every Kickstarter all in since. I've spent probably a few $1,000s on this game, which is stupid, but it has that unique theme, you know, where at least the first ones until the Forbidden Fortress came out, but they were Westerns, Western type deals where you would go into the caverns, the mines, and would fight stuff. And then there would be these little portals that you jump into and you could go anywhere. I mean, you could go on a damn derelict spaceship where there's zombie astronauts. You could go to this ice planet that has all these like robotic type things, or you could go to another planet that has these alien creatures. You know, there's just all kinds of different stuff you could go to. But this one is just, there's just so much. I mean, it takes up so much space. This has to be one of the biggest space hog games when you're running a full deal and you have 4 people and everything. Now, mind you, mine's not painted like in this picture, but
lame. You should have lied and be like, here's a picture I took.
Yeah. But I mean, there's so many. I have so many deck boxes full of cards for this game, and it's very fiddly and stuff. A lot of dice rolling. This is a pure. I mean, it's kind of like an RPG in a way because you're creating your character, powering them up, leveling them up, buying items, all that stuff. But what's cool about it is the story stuff in between, because you just choose a scenario, you play the scenario, and then after you're finished with that, you can go to town. You get to choose what kind of town, if you want to go to a small town, medium town, large town. And then there's different events, travel events that take place as you're going to town.
And you just have one event, right?
4.
Like on the way to town.
Now each person rolls dice, and then it happens to that person. Like, so, like, I have a whole book because it used to just be basic like stuff, but then they put out these PDF files of, I mean, I have a whole 3-inch binder full of stuff. They're travel events and stuff. that
Gotcha.
you roll 2 D10s, I believe, and or something D8s. I don't know what kind of dice, but you roll them and then you do that. So it could affect each person. Yeah, that's right. Each person gets 1 road event per day
Okay,
of travel. So if you run a group of 4, you're going to deal with 4 events on the way to
I
town.
see.
But then when you get to town, you can buy stuff. There's games there. You can play like a poker type stuff. There's these special games that come in to play. You can rob a bank. You can do pretty much whatever the hell you want. And then you choose another scenario and you go. For each day you stay at the town, though, you have to draw a town event, which could be something bad. Could, there's just so much. This game it's a lifestyle game. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to tell you. If you're gonna get into a game like this, you need to buy the core boxes and then immediately start buying the other world boxes and monster packs, because the core boxes themselves get kind of samey after a while because there's not a ton of enemies in the core boxes.
Yeah.
And it kind of gets a little samey, So if you're gonna dive into this game, watch some videos, see if you like it, and then just dive in full force. Because that's where you're gonna get
just
the most out of it.
save up about $2,000 and then just buy someone's all-in bundle on eBay or something,
Yeah, plus you have to put the
and
miniatures
then sell
together,
it because you're overwhelmed by all the content you're getting.
Yeah, I have 4 shelves of my shelves back here are dedicated to Shadows of Brimstone.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
All right, my number 5 is another cooperative game. Surprise, surprise. I tend to like these, but this one is set in a more realistic world than literally any of these other ones. And this one is just one that definitely, took me by surprise whenever I first got it. And it's a very challenging co-op, but I am of the opinion that co-op should be a little overbearingly difficult, because I feel like once you beat a co-op, then you're just like, well, I'm done. Like this has nothing left to offer. That is definitely not the case with this one, and it is This War of Mine. This was one of the first Kickstarters that I actually backed. I remember watching, God, those were the days. Those were the naive days when you're just like, oh man, look at this neat little game on Kickstarter. This isn't going to go anywhere. And now every single game is Kickstarted. If you're not familiar with This War of Mine, it is actually based off of indie video game where you basically take control over citizens in a war-torn city. Like there's an active war going on and you're just doing your best to survive.
Right.
It is apparently based off of an actual like siege that happened in a foreign country that like I always mention, you can find the article of it on Board Game Geek of a person who actually lived through that siege that this game is based off of, and it's his own review of this game, which is an appropriate review. He wasn't like, how dare they be so insensitive to no, he understands that this game can be fun even though the theme is extremely dark. Because yeah, this game is dark. The people that are in that you're managing are they have their different emotions. They can be hungry, miserable, sick, injured, tired, and those are going to dictate how much that they can do. And it's very rare. It's like a spark of hope when you're playing when none of them are like have any type of ailment, and shit can hit the fan so quick. You could send someone out to just be like, oh hey, like let's just have you go see if you can find anyone to help us, and then you roll a 1 and they just get pinged by a sniper and now they're basically dead. And I think it's like they put up their wounds up to 3, which basically means they're, damn it, I keep hitting my headset, which basically means they're not doing anything. Like they each character gets 3 actions, and the statuses have like black pips, and that kind of dictates how many. If you have 3 black pips, then you have no actions. So you have to go out of your way to heal them, but someone else might have two, but it's like, do we just ride off this person? Like you have to make some pretty gruesome decisions. This was also one of the first that I had played that had a storybook, like an just as you're going out, you could have random encounters, and there was a book that you just pulled up that encounter. There's a lot of touchy subjects in here, but I'm able to discern, be like, hey, this is a game. I understand that this stuff happens in real life, but it's a game. I'm not gonna be too much into it. So yeah, this looks like it's a very busy co-op game, but it's not actually too bad to play. They did a pretty innovative job at, they wanted people to kind of come in and just play. So you're given like a journal and you just follow the journal and you pass that journal around per player and everyone kind of manages that section. So you technically don't, you just set it up and you don't have to really learn how to play. You can just start, but there are nuances. There are very advanced rules that you will eventually find throughout the book of scripts is what it's called. And it's like, oh man, I wish I would have known I could do that. But yeah, there's resource management. Everyone has to eat. If they don't eat, then they get hungry. If they don't sleep, they get tired. There's a day and night phase where you go at night phases when you go out to different locations and you're trying to find different items that allow you to, of course, do different things. You might be going out and you go to the hospital hoping to find resources, but just based off the residents and the exploration deck, you might burn out your time or run into bandits that you happen to be at the hospital because they thought the same thing. So they kill one of your guys and you have to leave. There's a lot that can go on in this game, but if you want an immersive, unique themed game, man, this is definitely one of them. It's so good. Like I highly recommend it. So that's this War of mine.
That's a good one. I liked it. It was just kind of it had a lot of setup and stuff.
Mhm.
So it took a while and I just didn't really hit the table for me a whole lot.
Yeah. There is a lot of setup for this, and it is chapter based. Like how you win is you survive, because it's also in the winter. So you have to survive like I think there's 3 chapters that you have to survive through. And once you do that, then you've basically, from what I understand, like hold out till the end of the war. But it's hard. It is very hard. I've played multiple games where you die in chapter 1.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. All right. Well, my number 5 was a game that when I was looking through Kickstarters and stuff, I had forgotten this was a Kickstarter because I didn't back it as a Kickstarter. I own everything for it. But it is probably my favorite worker placement game. And it hits a lot of my lists and stuff. It has a unique worker placement aspect to it. And that is Raiders of the North Sea. I'd forgotten this was a Kickstarter because this was the first one of the Shiv Phillips games that I ever got. And
Gotcha.
I think I bought the retail of this and I bought all the other junk afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this one, and we've talked about before, it's unique in the fact that it was the first one to my knowledge that there was workers that started on the board, and on your turn, you always have a meeple in your hand, and you place that meeple, take an action, and then you pick up another meeple and take that action. So you're getting two actions per turn, gathering resources, gathering crew members, do whatever else you need to get, and then you're eventually going to start crossing the waters and raiding other places to gain more resources and this and that. The interesting thing with this is there's several different scoring tracks. There's your strength, get your victory points on the strength track. Then there's the obvious victory points, and then there's the Valhalla track that the Valkyries whenever those black markers that are in those squares, whenever you go and raid there and win, however many black markers there are is how many of your crew members die. But then you move up on that Valhalla track, or I think it's called Valhalla track, Valkyrie
I
track.
thought it was the Valkyrie track, but
yeah,
it's been a long time since I
it
played
makes
it.
more sense to me to call it the Valhalla track because they're dying and going
That's
to
fair.
Valhalla. But I mean, I don't.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, the further up that track you go, you get more points as well. And you're pretty much just, you're going for the high victory points like most of these kind of games. But yeah, I mean, this one was unique enough at the time, and I can't think of a whole lot of worker placement games that do that whole thing where you drop one and pick one up.
As far as I know, this is the only one.
Yeah, and certain spots require certain colors of meeples because there are gray, black, and white meeples. And certain ones can only go in certain places. So you have to watch for that. There's the strategy of knowing, of being wary about which one you want to pick up, because then that could leave a spot open for the next person to drop theirs in to get that if you're trying to hinder them from getting stuff. But no,
I like the colored worker like mechanic. Like he does that in Paladins as well. And I just think that's super neat that and Hadrian's Wall actually does that too. Just where you need specific colored workers to do specific actions, that actually adds a little bit of theme to a worker placement. Because it's like, oh, I need to have the artisan go to, this particular location if I'm wanting to get something crafted. It's just like, it is really neat. And I forgot this one had that with the 3. Obviously Paladins has like 5 different colors, and then Hadrian's Wall has 5. But they've got more complex. But yeah, I forgot this one had that.
Yeah, and then the expansions just add more to this, more decisions and little boards. They have a play mat that they made an official one that has all those boards already added onto it as well.
Oh,
so
nice.
There's a good solo part to this. It's a separate deck you have to buy, where it's included in all the other ones. I think this was kind of where they found out how to do the solos, so they started incorporating it in all the games after this one. But to date, this is still my favorite of the Shem Phillips series of game, the West Kingdom and the North Sea and all that stuff right now. So but we'll see how it is in the future. But yeah, this one was definitely a solid one.
Awesome. Yeah, good deal. My number 4 is not a cooperative game. Woo! It's different. And this game, I actually forgot it was also Kickstarter, but I feel like it did extremely well on Kickstarter. Granted, almost all of these games did, but it was set in an alternate Europa kind of world that this game initially just had its artwork, and then the game was built around that, and it is Scythe. Scythe is a massive, well, not, I guess not super massive, but it's a pretty big like area control game. Like it's a Euro game where you are trying to basically get you have 6 stars and tons of objectives, and like the first person to get their 6 stars out ends the game. That doesn't necessarily mean that you win, but that will end the game. And then there's it's whoever has the most money by the end, and there's end game objectives that are tallied up, and you'll be amassing coins throughout the game as well. But this one it does like everything right for me. Like you have your unique faction that has their own unique innate ability, and then you have mechs that you can build that then give you like your mech special abilities. And yeah, you are just basically going around the board, potentially getting in fights. There's very few combats in this game, and that allows you to, if you do win a combat, then you get to put a star out. That's one of the objectives. But you can go out and go to they're like fire, or at least like the tokens I have are like fire camps, but they're basically like events. You go to those particular spots and you get 3 options based off this God, the artwork for this game is just, gorgeous. And yeah, so then you look at that and your 3 options are based off of kind of what you're seeing on the artwork. And that can give you really, really good things. It's like, oh, hey, like you see a mech that's unguarded. Do you steal it or do you destroy it? If you destroy it, you get like 10 metal or 4 metal and 4 oil. Or you can hijack it and it's like pay 1 oil or pay 1 metal to get a mech. And so
Right.
they're very helpful, but they're limited. Once they're out, they're out. So you're not going to see those come out a lot. In fact, there's one faction that allows you to pick 2 options out of the 3, which is very good, but once again, very limited. I like this game, like it just works for me. Like I don't know what else to say about it, especially because this has been around for so long. Those expansions opened it up a ton, like the ones that just added 2 factions that are really good. Then the other one that added the flying ships that just made the game a lot quicker. And just had aerial combat as well as just a unique ability that incorporated those flying ships. And then the campaign one, the Rise of Fenris, was just so solid, and that added, once you finished the campaign, it became modular. Like all the things they added in each scenario then became something that you could be like, oh, hey, let's just play a regular game of Scythe and include this and this and just go from there. I love every faction that is on that you can play as, and like it's a very solid Euro. Like I think it does an extremely good job at what it aims to do. So yeah, that's my number 4, Scythe.
Yeah, I've given this one a few tries. It's fine. It just wasn't one that really, I like
Right.
the theme of it and stuff, but I just the mechanics didn't do a super ton for me.
Right. I mean, that's the thing is like, if someone were to be like, oh, like overhyped games and Scythe was on their list, I'd be like, I see why you're saying that, but it's still like, because everything's like a double-edged sword for me. If you're doing something, then you're not doing something else. And I mean, the unique part is the fact that you have a faction board and then you have an action selection board, and that on your turn you pick a pair, and the 2 things that you're picking might have a different pair than everyone else. So it's like, okay, well, I want to move, and then your bottom action is building a mech. And it's like, well, crap. Okay, well, I like, you want to be as efficient as possible to do the top and bottom action. Some board you might have makes it to where building mechs is a lot more expensive than others, but when you build the mech, you get a lot more money. So you can do actions that it's called upgrading. Like you can then there's like top cubes that you move down to the bottom, therefore meaning like movement, for example, you can only move like 2 things twice. Two things once. But if you upgrade that, then now you have an additional movement, and you can also make something else cheaper. So if your mechs cost 4, you can move it down to now it only costs 3 metal. So then if you can just get all your mechs out really now a lot quicker. I love that upgrading aspect. I love the fact, and you only can do that action once, like you can't do it in a row. There's a faction that does let you do it in a row, but
the red.
Yep, the red faction.
The red.
I have the red faction. To me, it's like, apparently there's a very, very specific combo that is apparently able to win Scythe in or at least get ahead of everyone by like turn 2 or something. I don't know the specifics, but there is technically a combo that Jamie Stegmaier has came out and said, don't play with that. It's not tournament legal. Like you can't, if that gets, you just can't play with that. But it took like thousands upon thousands of plays of people who play and make love to this game every day and have it whisper its secrets to them to figure out, that kind of combo, which is, I mean, props. Like at least it wasn't broken immediately right out the gate.
Right.
And then you just don't do that combo. That's like one of hundreds, well, not hundreds, but one of tons of combos. That's just like, okay, well, we'll just swap these two, and okay,
Right.
problem fixed. Uh, so yeah, this one, if the expansions hadn't come out, I think this would have slowly fell for me.
Yeah.
To be completely honest. But that Rise of Fenris expansion, if you're gonna get any of them, that's the one you get. So
Sounds good.
yeah, that's my number 4, Scythe.
All right, my number 4 is the last one on this list that I actually pondered placement, because my top 3 were like the first 3 I thought of. I knew the order they were going to be in, and that was it. So so this one was like the other ones I had to jock for position. And my next 3 were locked in.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant like number 4. I was like, you just knew specifically.
No.
This one's number 4.
I knew my top 3 and what order they were going to be in. This would be the last one where I was kind of fluctuating.
I see. Okay.
This is a game that I didn't get the core game for a while. I got it retail, and then I got all the expansions and Kickstarter. And I love this game. There was recently a Kickstarter that came out that added a story mode to this game. And that's, I forgot your picture.
Oh my God, why do you hate it? You remember yours.
There's the Scythe picture of all that awesomeness on the board.
Yes. There's the out of all of these, man, I'm just coming up with amazing ranking lists. Yeah, there's one I could do this one.
Yeah.
For Scythe, because I've played all of these. Yeah. I also have the oh yeah, I was gonna say I upgraded. So I have the metal mechs for it. That are just they're so nice. They're so cool.
Nerd.
Oh, I'm sorry, Shadows of Brimstone, 9 shelves dedicated. But I also have the bigger, I will never play this not on that bigger board.
Yeah.
What sucks though is they made a modular like expansion where you can actually change how the board looks, but they don't have it for the big board. And I'm like, what am I, poor? It's like, anyway, yeah, there's the gorgeous game that is Scythe.
Yeah. So anyway, so my number 4 then is Role Player.
Nice.
This was one, like, I saw this at one point. I didn't really jump in on it or anything, because you have to play this game to really understand how good it is. Like, you can't just
you need to be on our level to really understand the genius that is Role Player.
Right. And I'm not a big D&D guy, so it was just like,
haven't you played it?
Huh?
Have you played D&D?
Yeah, I've ran 2 campaigns in my time now with the guys, and they're in lockdown and all that crap.
Gotcha.
But
I thought so.
It's fun and everything, but I hadn't at the time of this, and I was like, I always thought it looked cool, but then I kind of put it off. Finally bought it, loved playing it solo. And then they came out with the Monsters and Minions. Then the Fiends and Familiars expansion just added more depth, and lets you do more with your characters. But and I just now, this one's in another language, but you get the point of it.
They've all been in other languages. So, but it's a good thing I can read this. So
right. So anyway,
can you guess? I mean, this person is clearly a magician.
Yes.
I know it's really hard to tell, but it's a magician that's persecuted and is a sociopath.
Yeah, and she's
a combat
celebrity, baton. Popular and courageous.
Yep, loyal. Celebrity. Yeah, loyal, courageous.
So we got it. That's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is French. I took French in high school.
Yeah, me too.
Probably not even French.
So anyway, with this game, what's cool about it is you're going to choose a race, and then you get to choose whether you want the male or female version, because it's a double-sided board. And then you are going to draft dice that you're going to place in your little player board to try to match colors, numbers, all that jazz for those cards that are on the right side of your player board, because you get extra points if you get the coloration right. And then when you add the row across, it needs to be in the range of that, like the magician card up there. The top row would have needed to be 14 to 15, and it looks like he has 15, so he would have gotten the point for that. But when you place a dice in that row, right in the center of that board, there's the different abilities that you can do. So when you place the die, you get to do that ability, and everything. And it's just, there's just a lot of cool stuff because you're buying cards, whether they're items or weapons or whatever. You're also buying trait cards that you can add that add different either in-game scoring or other different types of abilities to your character. The whole point of this game is you're baking a D&D character for all intents and purposes. So what that adventures adds though is that you can bring these characters into an adventure, like a story-based adventure. So this is just a really solid game. The expansions just add where you can actually kill minions and you fight a monster at the end and all that jazz. So yeah, I mean, this one was one that I like dice games and I like the theme of this and everything. So it was kind of it was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, good deal. Yeah, this is a really good one. I just played this not too long ago and it was a blast. All right, my number 3 is a cooperative game. And this was the other one that I mentioned whenever I was talking about Seventh Continent, how another game has kind of done the same system in terms of card layout, but
I know what it is.
Yep. And it is Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. So that is yeah, that's 2 Awakened Realms games. This War of Mine was Awakened Realms, and then now this one. Yeah, this one is just, oh my god, it's so good. Like in terms of just the Arthurian legends, like the dark gothic Arthurian legends, like such a very cool take on that. And that the world building, the fact that you go out and explore and then you just, I mean, it actually does, I like it a lot better than Seventh Continent, because Seventh Continent like has all the different cards that, you know, will change as time goes on. This one, the cards don't, well, they can change actually, but for the most part they don't. But you go to one location and then you have that massive storybook that you just pull to, and that gives you all the options of what you can do, and then it pulls you to different areas as you make decisions as the game goes on. This game is technically I mean, it's a deck builder. You have 2 types of decks, of combat and diplomacy, depending on how you interact with certain, like obviously you're not diplomatizing with monsters, but if you're going into a town, the town might be hostile, and it could, just based off how you tend to react to someone coming up to you, you could diplomatize with them, or you might have to fight them. It's you slowly build your character up through stats that then will benefit from, like, will make cards better. I love the combat system in this. It's very cool. You like link cards together, and on the edges of the cards has icons that if you match them will give you, you know, benefits, because you're trying to collect, like there's a threshold in the combat of how you beat them. Oh, this guy needs 6 cubes you need, and it's like, okay, well, this if I play this card, it's 2 red cubes if I happen to have, you know, a level 2 in courage, and I have that, so that's 2 red cubes, and then that lets me play another card, so then I'm gonna play another one, and that's a ×2, so there, and that gives me 4, so then I have my 6, and I kicked his ass before he even got to do anything. There's just combat systems that allow you, that give you like a puzzle based off, you know, the deck that you built, and then the way that you play them is just so cool. And that linked chain system is actually even more immersive, because it kind of tells you what order you did things, like thematically, like, oh, okay, I yelled at him, I taunted, then I screamed, and then I cut him down with my sword. It's just so cool. All the characters have backstories and different things that, you know, they have their own shit going on, unique locations that they can go to have a different experience that only they can have. I mentioned it's kind of like Dark Souls because you have those menhirs in the middle. Those are the man, those are like amazingly painted. Like they
Yeah,
have the
good.
light, like the light source. That's so cool. But those are what basically are shining and keeping the weird away. Like it's like the encroaching darkness. And so they have an upkeep. You have to go there, and then if you light them, then that's what it lights up all the areas around it. And over time it'll tick down, and then if you don't keep that's kind of the one fiddly part of the game, especially if you're doing it solo. You're the only one having to run back and like light the thing again. And if you happen to let it run out, then you just start taking a shit ton of like insanity and damage before to try and make it back to light it. So this has a lot of chapters to it, especially just the base game. I think it has like 16 chapters, overarching story, decision based. It's very, very good. Like I really like this. I was doing it solo on the channel for a while, but it became a lot of stuff to manage solo. So I'm gonna redo it, I think, as like with a buddy of mine, and just do a 2-player game. So yeah, that's my number 3, Tainted Grail.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure. I need to play it more. I've only really gotten the first like mission done.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah. Like it got to a point because like I just wasn't playing it, that like I went into a chapter. It was the last video I did on this, and I was like, I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of constantly play it to remember the story and go up and just be really involved to really know what's going on, because there's a lot here, and the writing is phenomenal. It's so good.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So my number 3, I'm not sure if it'll be on your list or not, but this is one that I also was late to the party on with the initial Kickstarter, but then I picked it up after that, and I have everything for it, and everything that's coming out for it in the future is on its way. And that is Too Many Bones.
Nice. It is not on my list.
Yeah, this one was a kind of like Chip Theory's big explosive game. Like Hoplomachus was kind of their first one that they were doing Kickstarters with. Kind of got their foot in the door with that quality and stuff, and then they decided to create this world, and it just kind of blew up. This is the one that put them on the map for everything else that they're doing now. You're pretty much playing Gearlocks in a cooperative / solo RPG style game. This is one of those games, you know, this company touts themselves on having everything it's all waterproof. You can just dump it in a bathtub and it's all fine. The neoprene, the dice, the cards are all plastic, everything. I don't think I would drop the trove chest in there just because, but
yeah, I probably wouldn't either, mainly because I don't want to carry it.
Yeah, but yeah, this is just a super cool game. There's not miniatures. It's all really nice, hefty poker chip style stuff. Each character has their own playmat. That's their character dashboard that you can see. It's kind of like you can plug their dice into the holes. Pretty much, it's not really a campaign necessarily, unless you have like the Daylore stuff and everything. But most of it is just you pick a tyrant. You pick if you want to play a short, long, or medium game or whatever, and then you run through different bads as you're going through that little map until you get to the bad guy. It's not an easy game at all. There's a big learning curve to this game. Each character has a front and back full page deal about rules and key terms and all this crap. So you really have to settle in on one or two heroes and really work with them for several games to learn them, to go from there. But yeah, this one also, it has the bones mechanic that we talked about, so like even if you do roll poorly and roll bones, those bones get collected, and then there's a big ability that they can use if they spin those dice. I like their loot decks because the items are pretty neat.
They are, yeah.
And thematic and stuff. There's also it's drawing a blank right now, but there's the it says up there like the trove loot, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have to like unlock those
and
stuff. So, there's just theme all over the place in this game. And then the trove chest is their all-in-one storage solution that's really nice. Has all the storage containers and the magnetic drawers, and there's just so much to this game, and it's such a good solo experience. Yeah, I mean, and it's not a table hog like it could be. I mean, it takes up a lot of space, but like the battle board is just a tiny little mat, with Go ahead.
I was gonna say, whenever I was playing solo, like I just had the one gear lock and then the battle mat right next to it. I'm just like, okay, this is it.
Yeah.
And then you put the baddie chips just in front of the battle mat, and that's it. Like it's not that big of a game. It's a very, very deep game, but it's not like a sprawling, like, oh man, my 4x6 table can barely handle it,
Yeah. So this one was whoever came up with this idea, that was a wise one, because they just put out this last Kickstarter for Unbreakables, their last content for this game. And it's, except unless they're going to do promo stuff, they've said they might do promo things here and there, but as far as full game content, that'll be it. And it's just more excitement, more cool gear locks, more new tyrants, and this is just a great game.
Yeah. And one thing that I do really like about this is, yeah, I mean, you roll dice and dice happen, but what's really cool is that unless you have a very specific icon, if you roll, like, let's say as Pickett, he has the 4 blue dice. Let's say you roll all those and you roll bones on all of them. You don't have to spend them.
Right.
You miss, like you could use them as bones if you really want to, but you can just be like, oh, okay, nope, I'm not going to use that result. And then you just don't do it. Granted, you're not getting anything, but at least you're not wasting the die.
Right.
So I do like that you at least have some choice. If you happen to miss, then it's like, man, that sucks. Okay, well, at least I don't lose the die as well.
Great.
So, all right, yeah, good choice. It is not on my list. Yeah, my number 2 were pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not my number 1, but it's obvious to me. But my number 2 is definitely on your list, without a doubt. It's most likely number 1, but we shall see. It is a big sprawling campaign cooperative game that I don't know what to say about it anymore. It is Gloomhaven. Obviously I'm not tacking on Jaws of the Lion with this because it wasn't Kickstarter, and Frosthaven I don't have yet, even though Frosthaven literally broke the record for most money, which is wild on a Kickstarter for board games. Yeah, Gloomhaven is a deep, immersive campaign game that is affordable. Like the base game is, or not just the base game. Well, they do have one expansion. I actually forget about that, just because I have gotten nowhere near doing that. But it's like $100, and you have like 90 different scenarios. I wouldn't say different, they technically are, but your goals are relatively the same. You just kill everyone. But the meat of this is your characters, and then the connection between the scenarios you're going to. Your characters have unique cards that are to them. They don't have special abilities, which is actually interesting whenever you kind of think about it. These games tend to have kind of both. Every character has something unique that only they can do, and then their cards. But yeah, you construct their hand. It's a hand management game where you, like, if you're playing the Brute, he has 10 cards. You have all 10 cards available in your hand, but you pick 2 of them, and you have to do they have a top and bottom action. And whenever you play them, you have to do 1 top and 1 bottom. And whenever you play them, you kind of are hoping to do a certain thing, but if the enemies do something that you weren't expecting, you at least have some fluctuation with maybe, okay, I was going to do this pair, but now that they've done that, I can do this pair, and that allows me to do something instead of completely missing. Yeah, this one is just, man, like he did such an amazing job, like with allowing his big thing is the community. Like Isaac Childress is just like, I want the community to be involved. There's so many like community scenarios out there. And I was actually reading up on like the books. So here he has the tiles, the very generic brown or blue tiles. And I was reading up on I was like, you know what? So many people have told me that he's doing the scenario book that he did with Jaws of the Lion. But I haven't looked into that myself. I'm just going off what, reviewers or other people have commented on. So I'm like, I'm going to see what he officially said. So I did find it was a Kickstarter update where people were clamoring for him to do that. And he did say there are pros and cons. Pros is the fact that you get, artwork, you get full-fledged artwork, you get setup time, takes like 2 seconds. And then the cons were the fact that now he wasn't going to do it for Frosthaven because it just pushes Frosthaven back. So he said he's doing it, but it's going to take time. He has to then commission the artwork. And the one thing that stuck out to me was the fact that the scenario book limits the community. Like if you have the book, that is what you get. And the tiles allow for the community to create scenarios. So essentially he came down to the fact that he's like, we're going to do both. I'm going to give you your tiles for Frosthaven, and then we're also going to do a book separately. So, which is awesome. It is smart. Because I mean, I've done a community campaign that ended up being kind of ass by the end of it, but the fact that it's there, and there's supposed to be that massive community made expansion that I don't know. I need to look into that, see if I can follow up on it. But yeah, these characters have so much depth to them. So much, like kind of with Too Many Bones, you were mentioning that like we were looking at that picture of Pickett, and he has 4 different builds that he can do. Like you can go heavy into one, you can do a little bit of, everything, build up into stats. This is like that. You have different levels of cards as you level up. You have, if the brute has 10 cards and he levels up to level 2, he picks a level 2 card and he replaces one that is in his deck. So it's always a hard decision because you have your character and then you get a level up and you're like, oh my god, these 2 cards are so good. I only get one of them. Now crap, which one do I get rid of? Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. Like it does have some weird things. I wouldn't necessarily say flaws, but just weird things about it that I'm like, I don't get it. But I absolutely overlook it because I love playing this game.
I like those little card holders.
Yeah, those are really
like the
nice.
damage, the modifier deck, and the stuff.
Yeah, that is actually really neat.
You don't have That's pretty interesting.
I don't know.
Like an Etsy
it's
thing.
Useless. I use the Gloomhaven helper app, so which nullifies like half this stuff on this table, just for ease of table space and efficiency. But you don't have to do that, of course. But yeah, that's my number 2, Gloomhaven.
Very, very good choice. Very, very good choice. Because my number 2 is Gloomhaven. And pretty much everything like you said. I mean, it's any flaws that this game has, I think, is being rectified in Frosthaven, and they weren't like huge flaws enough. I mean, I've played this game a ton. I'm into the expansion. I don't know. I've played so much of this game, and it's such a weird thing because I used to hate this game after my first couple of plays, but Jaws of the Lion's tutorial got my head wrapped around it, and then that's why I love this game now. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I really don't have much more to say about it. I mean, we kind of covered it, but yeah, both of ours number 2.
Yeah, sweet. All right, you have a guess on my number one?
It come out this year or in
It
2021?
did, 2021.
I know what it is then.
Yep, yep. My number one is
Yep.
Sleeping Gods. Like, oh man, God, I just love this game so much. It's just, it has to be probably the best gaming experience. Well, that's not entirely true because I've had better like social, laugh out loud or whatever gaming experiences, or video game experiences. But in terms of campaigns, like this one just sings on all levels for me. The sandbox nature, the culmination of everything that it feels like he's just led up to this. And the combat system in this game being a puzzle instead of just rolling dice or whatever to see what happens. Yeah, this is also a massive table hog, but you have the spiral bound map book that you just, okay, well, we start here, and it's like you get the quests that they don't tell you specifically where to go. They don't tell you what number it is. You are given a general direction, and whenever you're reading it and you go in that general direction, you're kind of like, okay, well, they mentioned a door or like a doorway. This kind of looks like a doorway. I think that might be it. That just adds more immersion because you're actually kind of like scouting out the land. And then you go there and you're like, hey, all right, this is asking for the keyword we need for that quest, so then we can do it. That's just amazing to me. But even if you're given that quest, it's like, hey, head west. And you're like, nah, let's just head north. And oh, hey, what's this? This is a white city. Let's see what this is about.
Right.
And then you can just do that. The fact that there's 13 different endings, one of them probably being if you die. Like if that's probably an ending. There's like 30 or something totems that you got. I think in our first game we got 6 of them. The synergy between all the characters with like their different skill sets, and the fact that you can spend XP and level them up, which gives them permanent abilities. The massive market deck. It's just
Right.
there's just so much in this game that out of every, like, it's not broken up necessarily into chapters, so you can
Right.
just play until you're done and feel like quitting, versus other like Gloomhaven. This is like, okay, that's one scenario, then you have to break it down, you have to set up the next one. Tainted Grail is kind of like that as well. This one doesn't have any of that. I mean, yeah, if you stop playing, you have to pack it all up and then set it up again, but it's just like there's no like, oh, we're done with this chapter, okay, let's tear it all down and reset up the next chapter. Nope, you just keep going, and it has a finite end. Like in how massive this game is, you would expect it to just have some weird forever rule, but
Right.
nope, you will go through the event deck 3 times, and then that is going to once you're done with the 3rd deck, that will end the game, and then you'll have your epilogue. So it's a sandbox in a bite-sized chunk, to
Right.
where you can't do everything, you cannot see everything, the game does not allow you to do it, so that therefore allows you to keep playing it, and you're not just done. Like a lot of campaign games, like once you finish a campaign, you might just kind of be like, okay, well, I've done that.
Right.
And this one didn't have that. In fact, it's coming on to the fact that me personally, since I love this game so much, like I've had a friend, he was like, hey, do you want to do another campaign? And I was like, no, because I don't want to finish it. I don't want to
Right.
see everything. I just like the fact that I have it. But that's just I have that same issue with video games and stuff. So it's not a game problem, it's a me problem. But yeah, this one was easily my number 1 Kickstarter game whenever we were making this list.
Yep. I will get it played soon.
Woo!
All right. Do you know what my one is?
Thought it was gonna be Gloomhaven. Cthulhu Death May Die.
You are correct.
Yeah, all right.
This one, how I was going to lead into this one if you didn't get it. this was one I didn't buy when it was on Kickstarter. I have all the Kickstarter stuff now except for that huge monstrous Cthulhu
Yeah.
miniature. But this one was one that I'm still surprised they haven't done more for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's a popular game. I mean, it's, you know, and with that having that IP, I'm just shocked that they haven't pursued it more. But they're worried about zombie sides and shit like that.
Well, I mean, it's such a you know, obscure game, Zombicide. Like, I mean, what? Like, it's barely out there. Like, it needs more expansions and more iterations.
This one, I'm not huge. I like Cthulhu. I'm not like I have to have everything, you know, all Cthulhu. But this one is my favorite. I mean, just because it's pure Ameritrash. I mean, you choose your characters, you choose what episode you want to play, and then you choose what boss. I mean, so you have a lot of replayability here, because especially if you have all like the season 2 and the unbreakable box or unspeakable box. There's all these episodes and you have all these bosses that you can buy, and then you can just mix and match. I mean, you know, like do episode 1 and you can either choose Cthulhu or Haster or Dagon or any of them, you know, and go through and play that way. There's a stack of characters, especially if you have the unspeakable box. I mean, there's got to be 50, 60 characters to choose from, I think.
Yeah,
And,
if you have the unspeakable box, you want to spend $400 on it.
I spent 125.
Yeah, you got lucky.
But yeah, so pretty much it's your typical. If there's one complaint I have, and if you can see this, if you look in this picture, the obvious complaint with this is the tiles are small.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to make a complaint, I mean, but I could live with that, because when you get those big miniatures out there, they like take up the entire thing. And what happens with this game, and it looks like in this picture, the good guys aren't doing so hot, because I think they're all dead. But
yeah, that doesn't bode well for them.
But what happens in this game is it has that follow me minion mechanics. So like you can move right through where minions are. A lot of dungeon crawlers, like you move, and if you go into a room where there's miniatures, you have to stop and resolve. This one you can just run right through that room, but they follow you. Yeah. So if you run through 3 rooms,
Bloodborne has that.
Okay, because if you run through 3 rooms and each one of those rooms has a minion, where you stop, you end up having all 3 of those minions on you.
Right.
So you have to kind of watch that. And each one of the episodes has a what am I trying to say? Can't think of the name of it right now, but you're trying to figure out
like an objective.
Break the ritual. You're trying to break the ritual.
Oh yeah. And
then when you break the ritual, then you can actually start damaging the god, because what'll happen is there's a timer on this game where the boss will hit the table at some point. If he hits the table before you've disrupted the ritual, you can't damage him. You know, it's like you have to have the ritual taken care of before you can start beating him up. The timer on this game is either that, getting the boss to land on the board, or on the top of each player character board is like a insanity track, or a sanity, I guess, whatever, how sanity or insanity track, whatever. But it starts down at the far left, and everything in this game gives you insanity. So like even your dice rolls, because when you're rolling dice, if you roll the little tentacle symbol, that gives you insanity. And if that track reaches the end, you go insane and you lose. But what's cool, and if you look over at the right side of that picture where those blue tokens are, that track that's at the bottom part of that deal, I guess. Each time you hit one of those maroon milestones, you get to level up. So you have to find this balance of leveling up, because you can be a true badass by the time you're 3/4 the way down that track.
Yeah.
But you're also almost ready to go insane and lose. So you have to you have to really balance that. There's a lot going on in this game with trying to fight stuff to kill that person to make sure you're not going insane. You also pick stuff up throughout the deal. You can get like little followers with you or pick up items, and some of the items may have story moments with them that if you run into this, oh, whoever has this item can do this, you know, or whatever. It's just really cool because I like the replayability where you can, I don't know how many episodes total if you have everything, but then I think there's 1, 2, 3, there's 5 bosses out now, or 5 gods. 2 of them were retail. This is how I got those, but it just adds to the replayability of it, and it's not an easy game at all. This is a very, very difficult game to win. Also, everybody has a can't think of the word of that either. They have their like a hindrance trait or something.
Oh yeah, it's a man.
Yeah, but
it's a disorder.
A disorder, yeah. So everybody has a disorder that fires whenever they level up as well. So whether they're claustrophobic or maybe they're a kleptomaniac and they steal something from somebody that's around the same deal. I mean, there's just a lot, and some of them are good. Some of them can be beneficial depending on different parts of the game as well. So anyway, this is one that I don't back much CMON anymore. But if they ever did a season 3 on this, would be probably my most anticipated thing over the last several years, because this is like big time.
No, I agree. One of my favorite things, you talked pretty much about everything on it, but my favorite thing about it is the fact that the characters are unique.
Yes.
They're not characters that are actually in Lovecraft lore that I'm aware of, which really has just a different spin on this. So I looked it up. They made $2.4 million on Kickstarter. So it's not like they had a goal of 200,000 and made 300,000. Like, so I don't know. I mean, obviously, Marvel Zombicide is a smart business move because that's gonna go gangbusters. But I mean, Marvel's the way to go. Maybe, who knows? Maybe in the future, as long as I get my Bloodborne DLC, then they can do whatever the fuck they want. So,
and I'll have to try that one as well now that I have everything for that.
Yep. I think you'll like it.
All
right. So that was our top 10 Kickstarter games. Obviously, Kickstarter games come out all the time, so this list is pretty much subject to change. But after 4 years, I felt we should just redo this one. But I think if you want to hear us talk about more Kickstarter games, you can definitely go check out our other. We'll do another top 10. We'll just kind of do our discussion on it. That instead of doing a actual list. But so that's it. Let us know what your favorite Kickstarter games were or are, and let us know what you think of these games in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.